I already thought that Hyacine was a good upgrade for Castorice. However, now that I've played her on the live server, I must say that I underestimated how much of an upgrade she is in practice. I've tested her performance versus Gallagher at E0S0 and E0S1 in Castorice teams. My Castorice is E0S1. I've done runs with a Tribbie E1 and RMC, and with E0S0 Ruan May and RMC. I did this in all game modes. In Mac I tested against the TV boss because Pollux is too easy for Castorice. With Tribbie E1, the team with Hyacine S1 almost zero cycled. Gallagher in that team also took one cycle, but almost two. Things got interesting when I replaced Tribbie for Ruan May. Gallagher's team took 6 cycles, but could have easily been 5 cycles and perhaps 4 with better relics and RNG. However, Hyacine, even at S0, took 2 cycles with Ruan May. This is a massive difference, and I don't even have Hyacine's traces maxed out yet. Nor do I have her new relic set. With this one, Hyacine and Ruan May almost one-cycled the TV boss. This seems like the Jaokyu situation all over again. On his release, Acheron was so powerful that it didn't seem necessary to pull for him. When Fei Xiao came out, the HP inflation began and people regretted not pulling for Jaokyu because he was the solution to a problem that did not yet exist on his release. Hyacine drastically improves Castorice's performance, and that will be very noticeable when the endgame does not cater to her anymore. From Fane and onwards, we will probably start shifting away from AO content, and that is where the difference will be felt even more. Gallagher is dependent on multiple targets to optimize his healing. Hyacine is not reliant on the enemy setup in order to provide ridiculous amounts of nubat for Castorice. Hyacine also brings a lot of personal damage and an HP buff, as well as a vulnerability debuff on enemies. In Apocalyptic Shadow, I tested against a swarm with E1 Tribbie. S1 Hyacine cleared it with 1730 for AV left. Gallagher had 1566 left. However, the shocking result came when I tested with Ruan May instead of Tribbie. Even at S0, Hyacine had a respectable 1631 AV left. That's more than Gallagher had with an E1 Tribbie. When Gallagher was paired with Ruan May, the team cleared with only 1151 AV left. That is how big the difference can be between Gallagher and Hyacine. And even this boss is still somewhat catered to Castorice with the skill buff and the AoE content. What also surprised me was that the difference here between Hyacine S0 and S1 was only about 45 AV. In Mach it also only was half a cycle difference when paired with Ruan May. Lastly, I tested against the Flame Reaver in Pure Fiction. Gallagher with Ruan May only got 24,000 points. Hyacine S0 with Ruan May barely got 40,000. That again is a massive difference. With E1 Tribbie instead of Ruan May, Gallagher barely got 40,000. So the same performance as Hyacine with an E0S0 Ruan May. Hyacine at S1 almost zero cycled Pure Fiction. I've been testing almost all day after I got home from work, and I am almost sure that an E0S0 Hyacine is a better investment for Castorice than an E0 Tribbie. If I had to choose between only being able to play an E1 Tribbie or E0S0 Hyacine with Castorice, I might even choose Hyacine. Tribbie's E1 is great, perhaps even the best Eidolon in the game. However, its effectiveness will go down a bit when we shift away from AO content. When we go back to mostly single-target content or blast-oriented content, the difference between Hyacine and Gallagher will become even more obvious than it is now. Oh yeah, in all the testing I had to play Gallagher manually because autoplay is terrible with him. To make the testing fair, I also manually played Hyacine. However, I noticed that there is almost no difference between playing Hyacine manually or on auto. Another thing I am looking forward to is the Blade and Jingliu rework. They will both really want Hyacine to make the most out of their kit. I've also tested Hyacine DPS with Sunday, Tribbie, and RMC, and it was decent. She could clear endgame content. But at the moment, with the supports that we have, she is not as strong as Linksha DPS. That's it for today. I'm really happy with Hyacine, and in practice she's even better for Castorice than I thought. Have a nice day.